Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Hello, you're welcome to today's edition of Money Radio, a program that brings to you the business cycle of Nigeria and issues of businesses around the world. My name is Innocent Bodo, and today we are looking at a very critical sector of the economy, where we're going to talk about how we're going to address the challenges in the food processing sector to maximize the potentials of the agricultural sector in the country. I'm not alone in the studio. I am here with Paul Wadima. Paul, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Also here joining us is Kes Hammond.
Thanks for having me.
Kes, you're welcome to the program.
Thanks.
Maybe I will start with you. Potentials in the agri sector, especially when it comes to the issue of processing food materials, to give us the necessary value that the economy needs at this point in time. Nigerian population, of course, is growing. We're about 200, let's say 200 something, about 206 million population.
Between 200 million and 217, based on
which statistics all right. You can see that and the median age is approximately about 18 years.
Yes.
Which makes us one of the youngest in terms of population in the world.
Yeah.
And so this potential is what we need to maximize because despite all the efforts we have made in agriculture and all the achievements we have made, in the case of processing, there are so much inadequacies in this area. We have not been able to employ high tech in the way we process our food items, and that has affected us in so many ways, making our products less competitive in the international market, not even in the African markets. Therefore, we are less and less playing in that perspective. What do we do at this point in time?
Yeah, talking about food processing or agricultural processing, we want to look at it from two perspectives. There's this issue of conserving to make sure that the food doesn't go bad. It has a long shelf life. Yes. But there's also processing from the perspective of using it as raw materials and all of that. Conserving consumption, food, but there are products that you see on the market that actually, most of our products actually go wasted. In some areas, we're not doing badly. I'll tell you, I was speaking to an industry stakeholder, a major stakeholder, the vice president of Ulam, and he revealed to me that we don't have so much problem with processing rice. He said there are so many rice processing in the country right now. The problem the country is having is production of rice, growing rice, and adding value from the point of being paddy to making it to separate the paddy from the real rice that we eat. So take another agricultural product like cotton. The federal government or CBN has actually intervened, and we have generics right now. There are a few others, but there are some others that are actually just waste. We have fruits. We have
fruits.
Yes, fruits just go wasted. If you go to the markets, our markets across the country, during the orange season, you see tons of oranges that just go wasted. Mangoes, you have tons that just go wasted. You can name them. This African apple, what do you call it? Agbalumon, star apple. In fact, the list is almost endless. There are so many of them that just go wasted. Cocoa, we hardly add value to the cocoa we grow. The coffee we grow, we have to send it across to be given value, and then we import it. So those areas actually need attention. We need attention in those areas, but some other areas the country is not doing too badly. But imagine a product like cassava. Cassava, do you know that it is taken out of the country and processed and then brought back? In fact, I was a time in the Chinese. I hear that the Chinese have started sending Gary Gary to Nigeria, which you can clearly see that look, we are not very much strong in that area of processing yet. We need to get these processing units working so that we add value to our products. The CBN has not been doing too badly in that area, but it shouldn't be their job. It shouldn't be their job. There are some other. What about the Ministry of Education? I mean, Agriculture. What about state ministries of agriculture? All of that, there is need to actually give attention to.
There is need to actually give attention to that. I turn to you, Paul. He talked about a lot of wastages, losses, especially in preserving and processing the fruits. We have them in abundance. A whole lot of smallholder farmers are engaged in this the production of these fruits and even other cereal crops. But then this issue of wasting every year, we are counting what we are losing, in terms of billions. A report came out the other time that we are losing about 9 billion naira every year as a result of the fact that we cannot process our food items in proper way. We're losing money, we're losing energy, we're losing investment, and we're losing foreign exchange in this regard. What is your take on this?
My take on it is that it's all boiled down to the neglect of the agricultural sector over the years. Food processing itself is actually one of the area of strength in Nigerian manufacturing sector. Because if you look at Nigerian manufacturing sector, the food and beverages control about 15 to 40% of all manufacturing in Nigeria. Before, after that, we didn't talk about things like cement or other things. So there's actually food processing going on in Nigeria. I understand. But it's not enough. We can do better than where we are right now. And if you look at Nigerian stock market, some of the biggest or highest stocks in Nigerian stock markets today are from the food and beverages related sector. Are you getting it? But that doesn't mean that we should rest on our oars, because there are states like, let's take Benue State, for example. Benue State has a comparative advantage in fruits.
Yes. So
ordinarily, Benue is supposed to be the hub for processing of fruits of all kinds. But unfortunately, even the one that the state government set up, they have all died. So there's a need to find out why state government cannot be able to run institution like that, a company like that could be profitable, because now people look at Benue with pity that it doesn't have enough money, it can't pay salary and all that. But if Benue State, for example, takes serious its potential in the fruit business, in processing of fruit, they will go a long way in enhancing the internally generated revenue. And all they have to do is to create the conducive environment. But some of these things don't require federal government alone to get involved. It's just determination. We all in this country are witnessing what is happening with Akwa Ibom State, where Ibom A has come from a state, and it seems to be competing very well, even at performing some of the private sector who have been there before.
Established ones, yes.
Yes. So it shows that state government should look into going into agricultural process. Perhaps some states, they don't have the kind of resources like Akwa Ibom to go into a transport business. Are you getting it?
Sorry.
So they can take advantage of it. And food and beverages or the agro processing is prioritized by the Nigerian Exim Bank. That's Nigerian Import-Export Bank.
Yes.
Because according to the bank itself, it's like a policy bank of Nigerian government. Its priority area, it pays priority attention to food processing. These are the key areas. Say food processing, solid minerals, and services. Those are the key areas. And it was the bank is particular about food processing. They want to encourage it. So it's an opportunity for those who want to invest in food processing to approach that government bank and see how they can. And they're also targeting foreign the export of this process. When they support you, they want to encourage you to be exporting it, because that is where it will be of much benefit to the country, in the sense that it will help to bring in the scarce dollars or foreign exchange that we need in our country. So things need to be done on that sector. And then, when you process, you also help in preservation.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
Because we have not been able to store our agri produce very well, which has been affecting what farmers can benefit. That's why I have a lot of wastages every harvest season. Now, if we have linkages between the agricultural sector and the manufacturing sector, it is going to boost production, because those who are producing on the field will know there's a ready market. So that linkage needs to be emphasized in whatever we are doing to make sure that we have maximum benefit from our agricultural sector in terms of processing.
Yes, there's something very significant you mentioned here about trying to cut this waste. And I remember also that some time ago, we tried to export yams to the international market. We also at a point tried to export beans to the international market. But those were not good stories to tell, because of so many things that happen, of course.
But we mismanaged those opportunities. And it's because we didn't understand the issues, because the people who want to export this our produce to, they are concerned about safety.
Yes.
They are also concerned about standard. Now, that is where this processing also come in, the processing of agri produce. Let's take something like this yam you mentioned. Now, since we have not been able to develop a way of sending yam outside Nigeria that in such a state that it will be intact and is not perished immediately or within a short period of time, one of the ways that are suggested by experts is in drying the yam and turning them into flour. Europe will easily accept it that way. That is the same thing that is also happening in beans. Beans, we have not been able to store our beans very well, and that's why we're even gotten to the level where eating beans became a risky venture in Nigeria, because of the way some farmers store it, using some harmful chemicals to spray on them to kill the weevils and all the ants that are attacking this product. But the best way which scientists have come up with, and which is acceptable to the European countries, is for the beans to be dried and turned to flour. That way, they cannot be able to perish on time. You can be able to export it. Europe will accept it. America will accept it. It will now enhance productivity, because more people will now go into beans farming, go into beans processing, because there's a ready market for it. So the issue of processing is very key, because you are not only helping the country to increase productivity, you are helping the country to increase exports, and you're also helping the country to preserve our agri produce from being rotten as a result of poor storage facility that we are facing in Nigeria.
All right, if you're just joining us, we are on to Money Radio, and we're discussing the agri-business segment of the Money Radio, and we're talking about the addressing challenges in food processing to maximize the potentials in agri sector. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue with the discussion. Don't go away.
sponsorship, and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're still talking about agribusiness, and we're talking about how to address the challenges of processing in Nigeria and how to maximize the potentials in agriculture. And before we went on that short break, we were talking about how to fund and invest in processing so that we cut the level at which we lose some of these food items, especially the fruits. And we were talking about a state like Benue that has a lot of potentials in the agri sector, especially when it comes to producing fruits. And unfortunately, this state has not been able to maximize these potentials, and we are still witnessing a whole lot of losses in terms of what they produce every year, every agricultural year. I turn to you, Kes. Now, losing billions every year makes us less competitive. Now, we also Nigerians actually patronize a lot of foreign imported canned foods, and this runs into billions of naira that Nigerians spend, procuring these items. Something that we can do here. Does it not mean that we're actually exporting our jobs when we're supposed to be doing them here? We're not doing them. We're rather creating jobs for other people who sell their, processed food items to us in this place.
It does. We actually export jobs when we send our raw materials outside to be processed and imported back into the country. You mentioned Benue State, and you mentioned that state being a hub for fruits. I want to talk about tomatoes. For example, tomatoes. If you go to the markets, virtually all year round, you go to the markets, you see that tons upon tons of tomatoes actually go bad. Yes. That brings in the issue of that lacuna which may exist between the producers, that is the farmers, and processors. The processors may be the companies that can process these goods or these products, such as, I don't want to name names, but there are tomato processing companies in Nigeria. Now, that link between them, that waste could have actually been avoided if there is a good communication, or there is a good link between the farmers and the processors. We still have this country importing things that can be easily imported, that can be easily produced in the country. We're not just talking about tomatoes. We talked about, look, there are just so many. Even these beans we talked about.
Yes.
We import beans. Of course, you go to the supermarket, you see many canned beans. This is what we import. And all of these things, there are chips that can actually be that easily processed in this country that are imported. One thing is we have a knack for foreign goods, foreign products. But besides that, packaging is actually an issue. If we know how to package our products well, all of these things can be avoided. And we don't need to get them from the foreigners, the Chinese. It spells danger, the trend we are actually taking. It spells danger because very soon, after I saw that is the African Free Trade area. Yes. So after it's already
in place.
Yes. It's just the implementation that is also a few issues are still being discussed, or modalities that are being put in place to make sure that after it's completely functional. There are these little countries around here that are putting those modalities into place.
Yes.
If we don't put ours into place, and we'll talk about the infrastructure later that is involved or that are involved in this issue of putting modalities into place. But if we won't put these modalities into place, these little countries will begin to, there is this adage, and it is a village setting adage, that every day you go to the farm and there is that tree there which is strong, that then once you get tired, you just hit your cutlass on the tree to keep it in sight. You do that every day, little by little, that tree is actually being ruined, or its power is reducing. And the day you don't expect it, that tree will fall. Nigeria is like that. Nigeria is a giant, an elephant. But when these little countries continue to eat from Nigeria, it creates a problem. And very soon, with this after in place, you will begin to see that these very little things that we have not put in place are going to affect us adversely, because many things will just be coming in. Things that are that they just add value to that. Foreign, I'll talk about foreign countries. I'm talking about after member countries. After member countries, we just add a little value, and we have those competitors, those threats, just around us here. Look at Ghana. Look at the Ivory Coast. These people process their foods right in their countries.
I know Cote d'Ivoire.
Yeah,
Cote d'Ivoire process cocoa now.
They not just cocoa, they process so many things, and that country, that economy is actually built on agriculture.
Yes.
Yes, it's a major agricultural hub,
In West Africa.
and they will have free access to the Nigerian market. Ghana is there. You have Togo. You have Benin Republic here. All of these things are going to affect us if we don't put those things into place, and we don't put those mechanisms into place, those modalities that will at least make the country self-sufficient. Of course, there are areas we have our own strength, but those areas are not the agricultural areas which we are discussing today. So, agriculture, we need to really add value to the products that we invest in. And if you don't do that, you may be caught napping. And before you know it, like that tree, which is everything touched.
We don't pray that we'll get to that level, but then, support is a warning to us that we are facing serious competition outside there on the platform of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Nations are already bracing up to take up the opportunities there. Ghana, he mentioned Cote d'Ivoire, he mentioned South Africa, of course, is the most industrialized African economy. So Nigeria, the biggest of them all in terms of population, seem not to be doing too well compared to its size. So Nigeria invariably is actually punching below its weight. And so we need to actually brace up for what is holding us. I traveled some time ago to Singapore, and I visited a shop, and there I saw milk from Burkina Faso. I saw beans, I think from Rwanda. I saw honey from Kenya. I saw one of that is from some other little country like even Botswana and Swaziland.
You may have seen banga, palm nuts, palm fruits, banga canned in the US, made in La Côte d'Ivoire. Fabriqué and La Côte d'Ivoire.
The arrival of African, but I didn't see anything from Nigeria. And I was wondering, where is the presence of Nigeria in this shop? They call that shop Mustafa in Singapore. So these are some of the things that we're talking about.
An indication of how bad or how poor we have performed.
So eventually we tried to process yam and send to Europe. It was rejected. So why didn't we try again? What happened?
Yeah, because of problem of policy consistency. When you have policy inconsistency, that is what you get. A certain minister may decide to drive yam export. When he left the scene, the new minister will jettison the idea and come up with another sector another food products he want to promote, which is not supposed to be so, because governance is a continuum.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that's what we get from some of our leaders. But to the credit of President Muhammadu Buhari administration, he has been very consistent in some of his programs, even some policies and programs of the past administration. He continued it. But to the issue of this after and taking advantage of it. You see, this agro processing we are talking about is actually one of the best ways that Nigeria can occupy the market and take it over.
Yes.
Because after has provided Nigeria with a market, an unprecedented market of about 1.3 billion people.
Yes.
55 countries, just for Nigerian entrepreneurs to exploit and explore. And we can do it because there's virtually no agricultural produce that is needed in Africa that we don't have the climatic conditions to grow them.
Yes.
And then we have the ingenuity of Nigerians to be able to process them. So I think what is lacking is, like earlier said, lack of linkage between the agricultural sector and the manufacturing sector. Because between the markets and the agricultural produce, that is what leads to waste. Because when you produce, there's no link between what is produced and the market.
Yeah.
It leads to waste. But when there is a linkage between both the market and the agri-produce outlet, like the farms, it motivates farmers to grow more. It means that whatever is being produced, there is a ready market to absorb it. Now, you find out that in Nigeria, and that is why sometimes during the harvest season, the price of some goods or some agri-produce goes very down, very low. Are you getting it? Because even the farmer is trying to be quick to sell.
Yes.
Because you know that he cannot be able to preserve it for that long. But when you have a good storage system and a link between the market and the farm, it means that there will be stability in the market price, and that will be to the benefit of the farmer. Because the farmer is not a Father Christmas. As we say, you don't eat bread because of the benevolence of the beggar. So the farmer wants to make profit. For if not in recent time, many people we are not interested in going to farm because people invest, they cannot be able to get return on investment. Are you getting it?
Yes.
Fortunately, we are having a situation now where people are beginning to make gains when they farm, but it's still not enough, because if you look at the gap in what is produced and what is wasted and what gets to the processing point, you find out that we need to do more. So we need to encourage the linkage between the farm and the market. Then we also have to, our leaders also have to make sure that we tackle this issue of rejection of Nigerian agri-produce, either as a result of safety concern, okay, or as a result of processing concern, okay. Now, we can do this through bilateral agreements,
Okay.
with individual countries. Are you getting it? So that they can be able to have a link with the Nigerian government. If we are bringing rice to your area, if we are bringing beans to your area, you give us the criteria, you give us the standard you want. Now there have to be a link between the government agency in the agriculture and the Ministry of Agriculture and the farmers, so that they will know the kind of chemicals they can be able to apply, or where the people themselves, the country say, we only need organic produce. We don't want you to put fertilizer into whatever you are producing for us. We want it purely organic. Then you will be able to tell them, okay, this is what, let's say, Netherlands, they need tomatoes, but they don't want tomatoes that is grown with fertilizer or with this type of chemical. Therefore, when you are farming in a particular area, you know you are concentrating to supply to a particular country. So these are some of the things they need to do to encourage productivity and help the sector to grow further and generate employment, because employment is one of the things we need this processing to help us achieve.
Yes.
Because agriculture is the low the hanging fruit,
Yes.
low hanging fruit that can easily help us do it.
Yes.
Agriculture,
Agriculture, yes. Your
just
final thoughts on this,
yes.
because we're already out of time.
Yeah, talking about agricultural processing and conserving and preserving, we want to make sure that Nigeria, the federal, sorry, the federal government observes standards. Like Mr. Paul was just talking about. We want to make sure that certain chemicals are not added to preserve these products. There are people in this country, and I can assure you with credible information, there are people in this country who import their beans. There are a few who import bread from London every morning. Bread. They do it because they think, well, the safety standards are not observed here. And because of that, they want to maintain good health. And so they opt for those places where safety standards are observed. And because of that, we lose. So we want to make sure that, or the federal government wants to make sure that those standards are maintained, that certain chemicals are not supposed to be added to the food we consume.
All right, you've heard it all. Nigeria has an opportunity, but we also have to address the challenges of our food processing so that we'll meet the global standard and be able to, take our place in the African market, especially when we already have this African Continental Free Trade Agreement already running, and the world and Africa, are expecting Nigeria to take advantage of whatever opportunities that may accrue from that platform. It's on that note that we'll draw the curtains on today's edition of Money Radio, where we just have discussed about the, processing, addressing the challenges in the food processing to maximize potentials in the agriculture sector. And we promise to bring you a bumper edition when next will come. Not forgetting my guests here who have made this possible to have a very good, opportunity here. Thank you so much, Paul, for joining us on the program. Mr. Kess, always a pleasure to have you on the program.
It's been a pleasure.
And we'll say goodbye and have a wonderful day.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.